And let us see. Here we are. One more small thing to accomplish, or at least pretend to accomplish. Yes, done. So I'm going to mute everybody so that we have we can start without disturbance, and then we will continue. Okay, yeah. So let's see now. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. So we saw verse number 2, very beautiful, and while eulogizing the teacher, we get to know so much about Vedanta, about the pedagogy of how it is disseminated, how it has to be internalized, how it is taught, disseminated, how it is internalized, understood, and how it is basically oneself, and how the teacher is the embodiment of Vedanta, and the teacher's grace flowing in the form of the knowledge and as a river of compassion. So the two things are combined. Somebody may have the knowledge but may not want to give, or might not be interested in giving the knowledge to anybody. Correct? So that is also there. And somebody may have the knowledge but not know how to teach. So the or somebody may be like, for example, mystics, they know but they don't know how to communicate. They just there sit there and enjoy the knowledge. And so therefore this is this is basically how it is. But here for in verse number 2 we understand that for Adi Shankara, he both could communicate effectively and also had the compassion to be able to reach out, and that communication to have it taught with extra compassion. Because after all, the pedagogy of Vedanta is a funny business full of paradoxes, and a glaring paradox is that we are working to remove a problem working to remove a problem that really doesn't exist. Because it is not true that one is sad, it is not true that one is afflicted, it is not true that one is a samsari. So we saw that, and then he prays for this reigning compassion, because it's not useful to be a storehouse of compassion when you are not able to give it to others, when you are not able to disseminate it indiscriminately. And so here he prays for that compassion to reign on him, to make him into an expert on all contemporary contentious darshanas and matas. Darshanas means various contending points of view, so that he can refute them effectively. That's the only reason, so that one is not confused. Not that there is a pressure to refute, but in this we refute other darshanas for our own clarity. That is what it is. It's not that you're trying to put somebody else down. That is not the whole idea. Okay, yeah. So that is what we saw. And then verse number 3, bhavata janata suhita bhavita nijabodha vicharana charumate कलयेश्वर जीव विवेकविदं भवशङ्कर देशिक मे शरणं भवशङ्कर देशिक मे शरणं. So this is another wonderful verse, and very chock full of meaning. In fact, this is unfolding the Mahavakya. And after this, it will go little, a lot faster, because the first few verses give the foundation of the whole teaching. Very, very beautifully done. So, bhavata, by you. Bhavan means you, tvam also means you. Bhavan means more like aap. You as in with respect. We have that in certain languages, European languages like French, etc. And in Hindi and in Sanskrit also we have the same. So, bhavata, by you, O revered Guru, by you, janata. Janata means what? People, all the people. Suhita. Hita means comfortable, contented. Suhita means very much contented. So contented, happy. And in some places the partha bheda is there, meaning there is a different, it is sukhita bhavita is there. Sukhita is also okay, either one. So bhavata janata suhita bhavita. Bhavita means what? Will become. By you, all the people that encounter you will become happy. And at first glance it looks like a contrived composition made in order to rhyme. Bhavata janata suhita bhavita. It looks like there is some, because why is he using the future tense? Because he is eulogizing the Guru in that particular tat desha kala vishesha adi shankara. So he is eulogizing, praising the teacher qualified by that time and that place. But what does he mean that people in, and also the it is the construction is in a particular form called periphrastic future, like a remote future. So people in the remote future will be very happy by you. What is this? Bhavita, bhavitaro, bhavitaraha, that's how it conjugates. But so this is very interesting. Why in the remote future somebody is going to be happy, only not just somebody, all the people are going to be happy by you in the future, happy because of you. And at first glance it looks like, what is this? It doesn't make any sense, because when we think about Adi Shankara, what is the picture that comes to mind? A photograph that can never be unforgot. There is Adi Shankara and there is some kind of a idyllic scene of a river, and then some mountains or trees in the back, and then what? 4 students sitting. So immediately that photo conjures the vision of Adi Shankara being a one-town teacher, sitting somewhere in Kerala or sitting somewhere in the Himalayas or wherever he was traveling little bit, some remote thing. And then we always think of Adi Shankara with 4 students. And the beginning of this verse, puts a complete damper on those misconceptions. We think that because we have that photograph fixed in our mind, Adi Shankara sitting with 4 students, everybody has seen it. It's there in all the temples, it is there in many Indian people's houses. It is there, just like the Bhagavad Gita photograph, the chariot, Arjuna, Krishna, all these things. It is there. It is a classic photograph. This also is a classic image, whether it's a classic photo or not. But that is the artistic image of how Shankara's life was in some remote BC time, in some remote places, with 1, 2, 3, 4 students. This is how we talk about it. This is how it is there deeply. It's got an abiding presence in the collective imagination even today. We think, oh, Adi Shankara had 4 students. And Vedanta must not have been that popular even then. So, then we have But here, the first line, crafted so beautifully, each word rhyming with the other, alliterative line, puts a big challenge to these misconceptions and these mythologies that are sitting in our heads. This collective imagination is completely questioned, and our misunderstanding of Shankara is a khandanam. A critique has been done very nicely, even with the first line. So, in the future, so here, what's his name? Totakacharya is being prophetic about the effect that his guru is going to have in the future. People will delight in you. That's all he's saying. People will be delighted by you in the future. Will be, some remote future. And how true his words are, we can only see. We can see right now, we are experiencing the prophetic nature, this prescient nature of his words right now as we sit and delight in Adi Shankara's life. Even as we study this little praise song, even as we study the bhashyas, we study the Bhagavad Gita bhashya, we study Dakshinamurti Stotram, we study so many works, and such a lot, so that mind which and that body mind complex called Adi Shankara, which blazed through the universe like a comet, transforming in its wake all the ways in which the Upanishad study has to take place. He streamlined and transformed everything because he is the one of the earliest links to the tradition. If we had any question about how the tradition was interpreting a particular Upanishad or a particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita, all we have to do is look at Adi Shankara. In fact, it was some kind of a miracle avatara like body mind complex. That is why he is known as Bhagavan Adi Shankara. And then he was he was supposed to live only for 16 years. In fact, the mother had a dream. She was given a choice: do you want a bright, you can have a son, but he will be short lived. Is that okay with you? And in the dream she agreed. So he was supposed to live only for 16 years, but he ended up living for 32 years, the saying goes, because each of these four primary students gave him for 4 years of their lives. I don't know how, but somehow. They all gave him happily, and perhaps they would have given more, but that was all that was possible to give. They would have gladly given up all their years so that he could, imagine in 32 years, 10 Upanishad bhashyas, Gita bhashya, Brahma Sutra bhashya, and a host of all other secondary works on Vedanta, if one could compose. How free that mind should have been. And this is what delights the people. And if you are going to say, I don't know Sanskrit, I'm hearing the word bhashya just today. I don't even know what bhashya means. Bhashya is a commentary in prose. And I don't know what bhashya means. I have never read Adi Shankara and I am not particularly delighted by him. If you were to say, Totakacharya will come back to you and ask you to read the first line very, very carefully and go back to the basics of Vedanta and find out what is it that makes a person happy. How do the people become happy? Well, when they get what they want, the people are happy. Wrong. Sometimes on quizzes and in television, if you give the wrong answer, some funny sound comes. A distasteful sound comes. Wrong. So if that is wrong, then what is the correct answer? What is it that makes you happy? And that it is Atma. Because you cannot become happy. If your nature is already contented and already happy, you cannot be made happy. Happiness, as we have seen time and again, even in this text, happiness is not a product, and therefore it cannot be crafted. You cannot make happiness. like baking a cake, even though cake might make you happy, it is it is a contact high. It's a contact high. It's a contact happiness. It's that the happy I, it comes out, the happy I comes out in certain situations. That's all it is. And in other situations, it stays put like a turtle living under its shell. That's all it is. And that I has to be discovered through the through this knowledge, and the one who helps one to discover this I for time immemorial is the one who can truly make somebody happy. You can't keep anybody happy. You cannot make anybody happy, really, even though we use that word. And anybody that is married knows this very well. You cannot even make a single person happy. If you make them happy for 5 minutes, the rest of the 23 hours and 55 minutes, they are complaining, except when they sleep. Then there is moksha from the complaints. For whom? For you. Okay, because they are asleep and you don't have to deal with them. Whether they are in ananda or not, you have moksha from them. That is basically the thing. Now, so you can't really make anybody happy, but here he's positing a very interesting, hypothesis, or a fact he's saying. He's a very daring hypothesis that by you, people will become very happy and people will be kept happy in the future. Who are these people? The people that take recourse to this knowledge, who do Sharanagati to this knowledge, just like I have done. And I know the power of your words, and I know how happy you have kept me. I know how happy I have become again within quotes, after encountering this knowledge. Encountering this knowledge is the way to understand that. Encountering this knowledge means to understand the fact that I don't need to be kept happy. Why? Because I am that source of happiness. And this is something which is very easy to gloss over, because there is a disconnect. And what is that disconnect? The disconnect is because one is constantly interacting with, and what is that? One is constantly interacting with things in the universe, and one is the witness of the alternating cycles of agony, ecstasy, happy now, sad now, fearful now, tearful now. This is what one is used to. One is used to this kind of a happiness that comes and goes, and one makes the mistake of this projecting the happiness onto finite names and forms, finite objects. So there is two kinds of projections going on. Upon the finite, I project the infinite. And what does that mean? Upon the finite, I project the infinite means that all the names and forms are finite, but I imbue them with the infinite. That's why I want everything to be permanent. Marriage should be permanent. Job should be permanent. In fact, my body also should be permanent. That's why everybody has started to eat berries. Acai berry, goji berry, and some other berry, poor berry, and poor places where they grow them, because they are all not available for the people living in South America. Because here one is over harvesting them and importing them, exporting them everywhere, and then because berries stop old age, or that is what one, or they they don't stop it, they make it what is that, less, the rampage of age is felt in a more gradual way. So there is all these things. One is wanting to make this body, which is finite, infinite. How is that possible? How can the finite become infinite? This is one type of what Adi Shankara himself terms as adhyasa, mistake. There is a big mistake centered on the self, centered on this I, and that I centric mistake is seeing everything which we know, logically know to be finite, and experientially or know to be finite, because we see the names and forms resolving all the time. And that which inheres the name and form is I, so is Atma, is Brahman, Ishvara, whatever you want to call it. And that one keeps, that one just inheres names and forms. It transcends all names and forms, and yet it as though blesses all names and forms. Names and forms come and go. The I remains completely unchangeable, completely in all three periods of time same. That Sat is I, that I is Ishvara, and that which is Ishvara. The isness of anything that you take in the world, the flower belongs to Ishvara. It is not the property of the flower. The existence of the flower is not the property of the flower, is not intrinsic to the flower. The existence comes, so to speak, and enters the flower, so to speak. Knowledge of the flower enters the flower. It is intrinsically connected to that existence. And that flower is in a way, what should I say, is always there, is always qualified by the word is. Flower is, wilted flower is, withered flower is, composted flower is, another flower is. And even if I want to say flower is not, I am constrained to use the word is. What am I saying? Flower is not means absence of the flower is. So the is doesn't go. Name and form comes and goes, comes and goes. But the humanity, Janata, has a habit of falling in love repeatedly with the names and forms, and getting sad whenever it goes. That is the problem. That is why Adi Shankara's teaching, this quintessential teaching, that you are making two kinds of mistake centered on the I. Two kinds of I-centric mistakes. This is what you have to understand. The first kind is trying to repeatedly keep the finite on life support. Something is dying, but then I want it to continue. So it's almost I take some invisible paddles, clear, shock it back into existence. Whether it is my own body or somebody else's body or some other thing that one is in love with. Clear, shock, clear, come back, don't go, come back. This is what it is. And that has lived out its, that name and form has lived out its existence, but still I want to keep it going. Everything in the world, in your house, in your life is on life support. Think about it. Everything is barely there. So this is the first mistake, That, then there is another mistake. Not taking the infinite to be infinite, mistaking the infinite I to be finite. Oh, I'm gone. I'm not, I'm not Satchidananda. Arey, you are not gone. Body is gone. You are not gone. No, but I can't understand it. The understanding is gone. This is the problem. This is two kinds of what Adi Shankara himself terms in the introduction to the Brahma Sutra as adhyasa. Many kinds of adhyasa are there, but these two are primary mistakes. Others are small mistakes. Anyonya adhyasa, mutual superimposition or mutual mistakes. Arthadhyasa, jnanadhyasa, all these are some other, we can have a long discussion on that later. But for now, these two kinds of mistakes are very, very detrimental to happiness. And that is what the teaching represented by the personage of Adi Shankara will live on forever to dispel these two forms of mistakes and keep people, bring out that happiness. And then as soon as people encounter the knowledge, they experience, or they are in touch with their unbridled happiness, happy nature, limitlessly happy nature they are totally in touch with. And they just are in love not with the objects in the universe, but with that which is the content of the subject, the I, Satchidananda, Brahman, Ishvara, whatever it is, they know that, they know themselves as the truth of the whole. So, Atmani Anatma Adhyasa. The superimposition of non Atma attributes onto the Atma. This is the one mistake. Second mistake is the opposite. Anatmani Atma Adhyasa. Anatma means not I. So all the names and forms in the universe are mistaken to be the Atma, which does not die, which is not subject to birth, which is there always. And so therefore mistaking the finite for the infinite means what? Anatmani Atma Adhyasa, and then not taking the infinite to be oneself, Atmani Anatma Adhyasa. Dehe nashte aham nashtah, etc. When the body is gone, I am gone. So these two mistakes, Adi Shankara, the what? That which is incarnated by Adi Shankara, that which Adi Shankara embodies, namely this teaching, is solely devoted to the removal of these primary mistakes that keep one within samsara, that keep one sad, that keep one completely in the shackles of one's own wrong notions. So therefore, people, no matter in which decade, in which millennium, in which century, people will encounter you in the form of knowledge, you who are all knowledge. He doesn't see Adi Shankara as a body, as a mind, as with senses, etc. You who are all knowledge. And this, when they encounter you in the form of this knowledge, whether it's in 2020 or 1920 or 1820 or 22nd century, doesn't matter. They will all be delighted, because they will be permanently delighted, and they will remain completely free of the Atma Jnanam, because they have encountered the blessing of your presence in the form of this knowledge. See how beautiful, how wonderful. And then in the second line, Nija, and how are how are you going to make them happy in the future? Nija bodha vicharana charumate. Actually, it's all one word, so it should be just one word. There should not be a space there. Nija bodha vicharana. It's there in the. It is correctly put in the what's its name, transliteration. So Nija bodha vicharana charumate. It is a, what is these are all compounds. They don't talk about the things, but they talk about people, and that is why it is called bahuvrihi samasa. Bahuvrihi samasa, they talk about they describe the person. And when they describe the person, so these are all things that describe the person. They are not describing the quality, but they describe the person who is embodied with the qualities. So, so charu mate means charu matihi yasya, the one who has a beautiful mind. What kind of a beautiful mind? Nija bodha nija bodha means nijasya bodha. Nijasya bodha, nija means oneself. Very intimate, personal self that is experienced, encountered. So nijasya bodha means knowledge. So through the knowledge of the self, nijasya bodhena, through the knowledge of the self, how one has a beautiful mind. And then not just because of the knowledge of the self. How was the knowledge of the self gained? Nija bodhasya vicharanena charumatihi yasya nija bodha vicharana charumatihi. And then it's vocative like harihi, hare, and so charumatihi, charumate. Nija bodha vicharana charumate. So it's describing the person. It's not describing the it's not describing the mind. It's describing the person who is endowed with a beautiful mind as a result of conducting an enquiry into the nature of the self and gaining the knowledge. Very, very beautiful. I mean, here in English, to expand the compound, we have to use so many words. And in Sanskrit, it's all just, that's why it's called compound. It's all just very, very compact, extremely compact. And that's why the compounds, if we don't unfold them or resolve them properly, you can have the opposite meaning. There is a verse just for fun. A roadside fellow, with not some person who is not even worth talking about, some regular fellow who doesn't have money, who doesn't have anything, who has no clout to talk about, no status, composed one verse. Okay, and this is just for fun. And what did he say? He composed a verse in praise of Ishvara, and then what does he say? Ahancha tvam cha Rajendra. Rajendra here is Ishvara. Rajanam Indra. So the king of all kings, oh you Ishvara. Aham cha tvam cha. I and you, O Rajendra. Hey Rajendra. Ahancha tvam cha. Ahancha tvam cha Rajendra. Lokanatha vubhavapi. We are both world lords. Lokanatha means world lord. Oh, and here is this fellow with not any money, no status, nothing, and some mediocre fellow composing this verse in honor of Ishvara, or addressed to Ishvara at least. And then what is he saying? You and I, O Lord, are both world lords. Then you wonder, is he a jnani? Because that's the only way you can arrive at this. I am the Lord, I am one with the Lord, I am Bhagavan is world Lord, I am also world Lord. Maybe he has Atma Jnanam. The second line makes it very clear. And he says, what is that? Bahuvrihi, Bahuvrihi, Ahamasmi, Shashti Tat Purusho Bhavan. So I am a particular compound that is called Bahuvrihi. So the world Lord Lokanatha can be resolved in two ways. So one way is very familiar to us, Lord of the world, correct? And that particular compound is called Shashti Tatpurusha, Lord of the world. And the other one is what? Lorded by the world. The one who is lorded by the world, the one who is a target of all bugs, of all misfortune, of the weather, of the tsunamis, of every single thing that is happening in the world, lorded by the world. This is called Bahuvrihi. Lokaha Nathaha Yasya, the one who is lorded by the world. So I am Bahuvrihi, and you are the one that is the Lord of the world. You are Shashti Tatpurusha, like this. So the same, the same compound can yield many, many different meanings if one is not, one doesn't take care in resolving that compound. So therefore what? So therefore here the very beautiful. So he says Nija Bodha Vicharana Charumatihi Yasya. So then the one who has a beautiful mind. What is a beautiful mind? How can you say that the mind is beautiful? It is at best a subjective word. For the hedgehog, its baby is very beautiful looking. Hedgehog, wombat, all these things, The mother of the hedgehog will say, oh, such a cute baby, it will love it. And some other, and the baby snake, all these things, are very beloved to their parents. But not to everybody else. So because who are scared of it, baby scorpion, baby crab, all these things, is equally dangerous. Baby alligator, nobody says, oh how cute. Maybe you'll say that, but from a distance. If it is right there, you're not going to say how cute. You're going to first go a nice safe distance and then zoom in and take a photo and say how cute. Not when it's right there in front of you. So the word beautiful, cute, lovely, all these are adjectives, and whenever we are talking about adjectives, subjectivity comes into the picture. Because we wax eloquent based on, and the subjectivity means what? Based on one's own raga and dvesha, something becomes beautiful, something becomes cute. And so, how are we going to, just because the student of Adi Shankara likes the Guru's mind, he is describing the Guru's mind as beautiful, how are we to relate to that? Maybe I don't find, somebody can say, maybe I don't find the beauty in some kind of a, what's its name? In a mind that only talks Vedanta. Maybe for me that's a boring mind. Atma, Atma, Atma. A for Atma, B for Brahman, C for Chit, D for Dharma, E for Eshana. you know. F sound we don't have. P for Phala. We can say, we can continue like this. How boring, to talk of Atma, Karma Yoga, Brahman, and everyday self knowledge, self knowledge, self knowledge. I don't particularly find that mind, that kind of a mind, beautiful. I don't find that mind beautiful. What if somebody puts this challenge? Therefore, we have to have an objective definition of what is it that is being called a beautiful mind. What is it that everyone, regardless of their ragas, tastes, preferences, dveshas, prejudices, everyone finds beautiful? What is that mind, what is that quality that is considered beautiful universally? And then the answer to that is that a mind that is free of the divisions, that does not harbor divisions between beautiful and not beautiful, does not harbor divisions of the opposites, is a beautiful mind. And Pujya Swamiji, used to talk frequently about one kind of a village simpleton that lived in his village. And he just he was not really famous, and he was just a simple brahmana, and sometimes people used to call him for meals, and sometimes people used to call him to do some pujas because he knew a few things, and never used to talk bad about anybody, never, not just talk, never used to, he was somehow incapable of even thinking badly about people. Nobody paid him any attention, and he had some simple joys. And then whatever money he got, once a week he would take the bus. That was his, and not going any particular place. He would just go to the nearest town, buy something, come back. And he had a tuft of hair that was characteristic, of being a student of the Veda, and then that was kept all life long. And that tuft of hair, he would tie it up, and then when he sat in the bus, he would sit in the back of the bus because he didn't want to be disturbed. He would have this window seat, and then he would look for that bus, and if that window seat was taken, he would just make that bus go. He would take the next bus because he wanted that particular seat, and then he would untie the tuft and let his hair fly and enjoy that. And then, nobody paid any attention. Nobody even gave him the time of day. People ignored him completely. And then when he passed away, not just that particular village where Pujya Swamiji hails from, but all the other villages nearby and all the townspeople came to his funeral. And the only thing they said, everybody when they talked to one another said, what a beautiful person, what a beautiful mind. And what did they mean? Because he was incapable of seeing anything wrong with anybody, any situation. Keeping to himself, never married, no family to talk of. And apparently he had helped a lot of people, but that was not what people were talking about, that he was helpful, etc. With his little savings, he had left some to charity, all these things. People were just talking about how it is that he spent 80 plus years in this particular group of villages without, and not a single person heard anything negative coming out of his lips. Not even in frustration, not even in a moment, unguarded moment. Looks like he might have studied and internalized dosha pariharashtakam, perhaps. This is what it is, and that is, and that you cannot make, you cannot make up this kind of a mind. Well, maybe you have some kind of a restraint, and then you stop the critique coming from outside. That is great. That is what is called dhamma and shama. That is wonderful. That's the way to go. But then, for Adi Shankara, there is another stage in this growth. First is to not express the negativity. Yes, that's a very important place of self growth. To not express all the time critiquing and complaining. Like our Pujya Swamiji said, spirituality begins when critique of others and self-critique stops. That is when Vedanta can begin. And so it is again, this is basically where one needs to go. So therefore what? So therefore, this is something which we have to take into account very, very seriously. We have to take it into account that is the first stage of self growth, is that I learn to suspend the pressure that makes me keep on talking about people, situations and things in the negative way all the time. And then there is another stage of growth. As I see the truth of myself, I see myself everywhere. I see Ishvara everywhere. And so there is nothing to criticize. Critique of somebody else is self-criticism. And self-criticism is also self-criticism. So the whole world is an extension of this I, which is free of all name and form, and that's where I live. This is what has to be understood. I firmly dwell in the I that is free of kartrutvam, action, free of reaction, free of all kinds of dualities. So who is to critique? Who is the recipient of this critique? And if I'm keeping on critiquing myself, that means I don't know the self, because the self is free of imperfections, the self is free of blemishes. That is point number one. Point number two, this whole manifest Jagat is a mithya reality, is an order of reality that is dependent upon the self. It is a projection, and as though projection of the self. The whole Jagat is as though superimposed upon the self that is free of the Jagat. Jagat is not free of the self. Self is free of the Jagat. Like the clay is free of pot. Clay can reside as a lump on the side, behind your house. Clay can be can dwell as a Krishna figurine. Clay can be as a lid, a cup, etc. But from the standpoint of the pot, clay is intrinsic to pot. From the standpoint of the Jagat, if there is no I, there is no Jagat. But from the standpoint of the I, no matter, no Jagat, I still is. No Jagat, no matter, I still am. This is where, and when we look at the examples, such as gold and ornament, gold is intrinsic to the ornament. Without gold or without any other metal, because you can get some artificial metal crafted into ornament. Without metal, the ornament cannot exist without metal, such as gold, silver, etc. But from the standpoint of the metal, the ornament is incidental, an incidental manifestation. Because gold, as all the smugglers know, is best lived as biscuits, just as big gold biscuits. Even that is a name and form, but it's not an ornament. And or you can melt down those gold biscuits and then make them into 1,000,000 ornaments. One gold, One gold that is not dependent on any ornamentation in order to exist. One clay which can be manufactured into 1,000 pots, million pots. There was one Deepavali photo somebody sent me. A woman sitting somewhere in some small town in India painting diyas, these little lamps. And then it was such a wonderful photograph. It was just earthen lamps, millions of them, with with a center shot of this woman painting one of the lamps. Very beautiful. So, million lamps, million earthenware lamps, one earth, million ornaments, one gold, and million names and forms, one eye. Who are you going to critique? And the Jagat is incidental to the eye. And the Jagat is perfect. Of course, it is perfect. And what makes the Jagat imperfect is one's own raga and dvesha, one's own subjectivity makes the world a difficult place to live. And therefore, when that subjectivity is completely removed through nijabodha vicharana, through self-enquiry and self-knowledge, then the mind becomes a beautiful, shining, resplendent place where the knowledge simply broadcasts itself. Aham 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 iti sakshat sakshi rupeda bhasate. I am able to enjoy the quirks of the Jagat. I am able to enjoy the difficulties because I know they are as though Jagat, as though difficulties, as though imperfections. But even if one says, I can stop critiquing everybody like that, no problem, but other people are critiquing me. Yeah, that's why one has to see that it is both ways. Kartritvam, I am an agent of the critique, has to be dropped with the knowledge, and it is dropped. And bhoktritvam, I am the one to whom the critique is directed. I am the recipient of other people's omissions and commissions. This is what gives rise to the affliction called hurt. I am the author of omissions and commissions. I am doing this wrong. This is what gives rise to the affliction called guilt. Guilt and hurt are the two footholds, the 2 feet of samsara. Right foot guilt, left foot hurt. And then one is keeping on marching. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Attention. This is what it is. Guilt, hurt, guilt, hurt, guilt, hurt. Sometimes, you put the wrong foot forward. Guilt, 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 hurt. This is what it is. And so, a beautiful mind, a universally one which can agree, which everybody can agree is a beautiful mind, is that which is free of raga and dvesha because of karma yoga, blessed by karma yoga, and then strengthened by self knowledge, free of raga and dvesha, which are first suspended and then totally removed. First suspended and then removed. Slowly, slowly, they just drop. In fact, they don't need to be removed, they just drop off. Like something that is not needed just drops off. And even they first you drop the contact with the object of longing, Bhagavad Gita says, and then the longing remains. An unfulfilled longing remains in the form of raga, or something to avoid in the form of dvesha. But after a while, when you study this knowledge, the longing also dries up and drops off because you're not giving the longing the time of day. You're not feeding the agni called longing, and the agni, the fire, dies away. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Even the longing goes away. The longing also dries out because you are focusing on that which you really long for. Because the ultimate, in fact, why should I say ultimate, the only longing, and the first longing and the last longing is to have a sense of belonging with everything. If there is no belonging, the longing rises its head. rears its head. And that belonging can only come, the absolute belonging can come from the knowledge that I am one with everything. There is nothing other than me. First, I belong. I belong in the Jagat. I'm an integral part of the Jagat. I belong with Ishvara. I'm not alienated from Ishvara. This is where, as one is studying the Karma Yoga, meditation, bhakti, shraddha, all these practices in the form of sadhana help to open the heart. And then the knowledge clinches this because I'm one with everything. In fact, there is no belonging because there is only I. You don't need to even belong to something because all that is there, everything belongs to me. If there is anything other than me, yeah, I don't see it. There is not, because it is not there. It's as good as non-existent. All that is there is I. Jagat, extension of I. Ishvara is just another manifestation of I in another Nama Rupa. Ishvara endowed with all power, all knowledge, is just a manifestation of I. And then the Jagat is just an extension of the I. People in other jivas, extension of I. And chara chara, things that move, things that don't move, extension of I. Everything is I. All that is here is I. And then that is the beautiful mind. And then it's not that Adi Shankara and people like Pujya Swamiji and other sages of the tradition, had to only deal with themselves. Wouldn't that be easy? After self-knowledge, you don't have to live in the Jagat, you don't have to see people, you don't have to talk to anybody. No, they were very much in the world. They talked to people, they interacted, and still they maintained this Charumati. They could maintain this beautiful mind because it was naturally, as a result of this knowledge, it had grown into being a mind that was emotionally mature, where this pettiness of critiquing somebody or the other or complaining all the time about one's lot had no place at all. It was just gone. A mind that is free of divisions is because Advaita, the one's nature as non-dual Brahman, is understood, is a beautiful mind. And then I'm going to take 5 more minutes today. I know we have another program. I'm going to give you the link for that program also. You can, we have a dance performance, and then, but I'm going to take a few more minutes because it took a little time to start today and yesterday. And also, the rest of the classes, if I can have your indulgence and make them 1 hour 15 minutes, it will be easier, if that's okay. So if you can stay for 10-15 minutes more starting tomorrow, then we don't have to rush. Okay, yeah. So so it will be India time 6:30 to 7:45 from now on, and then today I'll just take 5 more minutes, and then I don't know, America time, what is that, 8 to 9:15, yeah, East Coast time, yeah. So if that's okay, we will just do that, so we don't have to rush. So then, unto that beautiful mind of yours, O Bhava Shankara, O Shankara that helps to cross over sorrow, I invoke this beautiful mind. Please use your mind right now. Kalaya, to make me. We saw Kal, to make, Kal, to place, Kal, to meditate. So many meanings it has. It is a kind of a stretchable dhatu which with many meanings it is used. So Kalaya, make me, place me as what? Ishvara Jiva Viveka Vidam Kalaya. Make me into a Vivekavit. Make me into the one that knows the distinction. Here Viveka doesn't mean discrimination. Here it means distinction. Make me to the one, into the one who knows the distinction between what? Jiva and Ishvara. Arey, how can this be Advaita if he says, make me the one, let me see the distinction? Meaning what? Let me see the non separation. Let me understand the Jiva myself. Let me unpack the nature of this I, and then let me unpack the nature of Ishvara, and then let me see the two as one. Let me see, in other words, make me into a Mahavakyavit. So, Ishvara Jiva Vivekavit is Mahavakyavit. Vit means knower. So, make me into a knower of Jiva and as Ishvara. Make me into a knower of the Mahavakya in the Upanishads, which unfolds the nature of Jiva and Ishvara. Very beautiful. As one. And how can you do that? You have a beautiful mind and you don't think anything is impossible. You know me, and you know you, and I trust your grace, I trust your compassion, and above all, I trust your teaching methods to make me see this just like you see this, so that I can also have a charu mati. I can also be a charu mati. I can also have a beautiful mind. I can also be a beautiful minded one as a result of this knowledge. You see, this is the beauty of studying Vedanta. The teacher never says, I am Bhagavan and you are Gabhavan or something else. You cannot be Bhagavan because I am Bhagavan. Sorry, that's already occupied. This is scarcity mentality. You are not Bhagavan. Me, I am Bhagavan. The teacher of Vedanta will not say that. The teacher says, I am Bhagavan, you are Bhagavan, Jagat is Bhagavan. Everything is Bhagavan. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. This is the message of Vedanta. There is no distinction between the teacher and the student. In fact, the student goes to the teacher to become like the teacher. And here he is saying, make me you. Make me into you, O beautiful minded one, whose mind has been washed clean of all ragadveshas due to the power of self knowledge, whose mind is blessed by the flower garland of oneness, the fragrant flower garland of oneness, whose fragrance, whose surabhi is going to make people happy even in the future. That long lasting, never ending fragrance of oneness which attracts everybody to this knowledge like bees. Long after you, the body, mind, sense complex is gone. And so, make me right now. I mean, when you have the power to keep people happy in the future, make me into that one. Let me be the recipient of this unbridled happiness, because of which I am, because of which knowledge I will become just like you, with a mind that is incapable of seeing divisions, that is incapable of critiques and complaints, and living on some kind of a low realm of, like a prakrita buddhi, animalistic, what should I say, impulsive nature. Make me into one who has transcended the worst aspects of my nature, and make me into the one who sees the oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. And what is that oneness? Little more discussion has to be done, and we'll take that tomorrow. Okay, and right now, let me give you the link. Aruna ji has organized a fundraiser for Arsha Vijnana Gurukulam, and there is a free program that you can just plug into. Chris, do you happen to have that link where people can watch the dance program? Do you have it at hand?
Let me try to dig that up, Swamiji.
And whoever finds it first, please I will post it. Okay, either I or Chris will post it. Um, I think it is in this flyer.
I, I've got
Yeah,
it
yeah,
right
yeah,
here
yeah.
and posting it.
Oh, you got it? Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Let me just make sure
Excellent.
that's latest. That's from December 24th. That must be current.
Yeah, it is the one that's called chalet.com. Yeah, chalet.com. and that's the one.
Oh, there's another one here actually from
No,
no, that's
this
older. That's older
just
though. Yeah,
oh,
that's older. So this
let me
one's
post
newer.
this one. Let me post this one then. Let me just post this one because she sent this yesterday night, so I think it is current.
Hmm.
Let me post this 1 second. Um, Here, 1 second. Let me just do that. Maybe it leads to the same place. I don't know, but
Mhm.
uh, it is actually not posting for some reason. Uh, can you click on that and see if it is going to the program so that everybody can enjoy the dance program?
E-
It's going to Zoom
yes.
link.
Uh, okay, it should not be the Zoom link. No, that's not it. That's not it. There is one more link. Let me see if I can post it again. Uh, Let me click on this. Yeah, it is shale.com. Shanmatam, that is the program. It starts in another 20 minutes. So
Is that
let
it?
me
So
just.
many? Does that look
Uh,
like it?
did you just post it?
Yeah, it says
Yeah,
chalet.com
that's
live.
the link. If you can please post it, that would be great. Yeah, that's the one. So you can go there in 20 minutes and take a little break, go there in 20 minutes, and then what's its name? Uh, Enjoy the program. And that is, and can you also post that PDF? Do you have that PDF?
Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. That's techie.
Yeah, because in the let me just help you here. Let me see if I can work on this. Yeah, I think I can do this, so they can have a description of what they are going to see. Everybody can have that. 1 second. Negotiating too many windows here. 1 second. Yeah, here goes. Here is a PDF. I don't know if it is not posting for some reason, but it should.
Thing.
Did it come? Did what I post come?
Not
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, it has
Okay,
come.
yeah, okay, great.
Harinder posted. Harinder has posted it, and there is a little arrow, and you can click on that or click on the PDF, and then you'll get the you'll get the whole flyer, and very nice of them to do this program remotely for us. Very nice. Nowadays everything is remote except the knowledge of the self. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Om.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you. Om.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Om. Om.
Om.
Be
Om.
well. Take care.